Hello, welcome to the next edition of Competitive List. Today I got three decks to talk about that all got 5-0s, of one of which is a 3-color deck and the other two are 2 colors. So I'm kind of excited about talking about all these decks. If you like the series, make sure you smash that like button, subscribe, hit that bell notification so for future videos. Let's get to 2,000 subs now. Now that we have broken the 1,000, let's get there together and let's get into this deck list and these deck lists and discuss. Let's get into it. So first on my list is, of course, a 3-color deck that people always try to argue that you can't make 3-color decks work in Pioneer, which I don't buy it. Now keep in mind what I find a little bit off about this. This is a mid-range pile. Now, my biggest critique about this is the fast lands. I don't ever want to see having more than 3 or 4 tops fast lands in my mid-range pile because, I mean, let's face it, they come into play tap later in the game. So honestly, if I was playing this list, I would probably be cutting back on cliffs and marshes, going up probably. You can't really go up more shocks because 9 I think is your max. I do think actively I would want to play a couple slow lands in adjacent to this. But yeah, other than that, we have our Fatal Pushes, Thought Ceases, because they're just amazing. For some reason, we're playing one of Avarance, which is a nice tutor card / draw 3. Of course, we have a decent amount of creatures at 4 mana. We have 3 hostiles, 2 hostiles, 3 Shieldreds. And at a 5-drop slot, we have a Dracosaur, which is a really amazing dinosaur and a dragon. Then we have Abrupt Decay for a little bit of early removal. It's one of the best removals in Golgari. We have Glissa Sunslayer and Scavenging Ooze. So, like, this deck is pretty reasonable. It could almost be a Jangata deck, but you have Bone, Horde, and the Shieldreds. Other than that, sideboard, we do have 3 Duresses, which is a pretty reasonable card for control and combo, and potentially other mid-range breakers. We have a Hijitsu Consumes All. That's more for token-based strategies. I'm not really sure why you'd be playing that now, especially since Boros Convoke isn't really a deck. We have Terra Sunders, which is a reasonable card. It can exile artifacts and enchantments. And also, for 4 mana, it can exile anything that's non-land. We have a Cover Up and Path of Peril for sweepers. 2 Liliana of the Veils for combo if it's not Fang, and also pretty decent against something like Control. And 3 Torpor Orbs, stops Amalia, so that's pretty sweet. There's pretty sure there's other utilities like Angels, if you ever face that, stops a life gain. So there's a lot of utility there. But past that, that is the deck. So Jun mid-range showing up in the Pioneer format. Look out. Let's get into next. Now, speaking of decks that made a comeback, we have Girl Boats. So nice to see this deck get a 5-0 again. It kind of brings back a little bit of the nostalgia of Pioneer about a year ago, which plays the 4 Bone Crushers. It plays a few Lovestruck Beasts. This version plays 1. Plays Stormseeker to get the Hasty Chariot and a What a Boat. So it's pretty sweet. 3 Huntsman's Redemptions. Pretty reasonable card to help tutor or one-ofs like Thrill Seeker, Ferozodon, the Bone Crusher if you need it, Megalos, Artifact and Enchantment removal. We have Scavenging Ooze. We could tutor up for Graveyard Heat. We have Copter as a decent 2-drop. And then we could play, of course, 8 copies of Elves. Sideboard, we do have 3 Pick Your Poisons for the Vampire matchup and for Fabled Mirror Breaker. Closest for Graveyard Heat and pretty good against Control. We have 2 Hearse for Graveyard Heat. For Phoenix Fang, we have 2 Frillbacks, also could be Graveyard Heat. Also pretty reasonable against Burn for life gain. Also, Artifact and Enchantment removal. 3 Ferocodons. You bring those in against Amalia to stop their life gain. Also, if there's something like a go wide strategy, it can deal a lot of damage. A Crowan War, more for like go big decks like Bane Ripper, anything like that. Hazoret for black-based mid-range decks because it's really hard for them to answer. And of course, we got a Jengatha deck, so that's pretty sweet. That is Gruul Boats back on the menu. It might actually be pretty reasonable. I'm curious to see what its matchup percentages are going into like vampires and stuff like that. But let me know down in the comment section what you guys think about Gruul Boats in this current meta. Now we have one more deck to talk about, which is a spicy deck. And it's kind of like makes me excited because it's not necessarily a similar deck that I just featured on the channel, which is Desert Stompy, but it's pretty based. Get into it. Last on my list is this weird concoction of Simic Desert Stompy. So the deck does play Green Blade. That was a card that I originally considered, but I went with Trailblazer instead. So if you watch my video, I'm playing Trailblazer instead of Green Blade, just because I figured it would be pretty sweet to be able to draw cards. It also helps you ramp into the later part of the game if you need it. But this version is playing 2 Bristly Bills as a way to, when we get our landfall triggers, pump our team. We have 4 Rattleworms, so this deck is trying to, I think, fully optimize Rattleworm on both axes, right? We have deserts, and we could easily, pay 2 mana and sack it, or exile from the graveyard and get a desert. We have Lookout, because we do commit a decent amount of crimes. Fading Hope, it's, I guess, a reasonable removal spell. I'm not sure if it's more for a tempo play, in case they target your Lookout, you could bounce it or something. But we have Fae, which allows us to tutor up some win cons like Jace and Trespass. Then we have 4 Spell Pierces to counter. Protects our Rattleworm and stuff like that. We have 2 3 steps ahead. 1 Pick Your Poison main. 1 side. And then we have 4 Blue Sun's Twilight to take our opponent's creature and make a copy of it. I do wonder if this deck actually could pull off something like the Simic card where XX, I'm trying to remember the name of it. I know Saffron Olive loves the card in Standard, but basically you make X twice, make copies, which would be pretty awesome in this deck as well. Sideboard, we do have Tormod's Crypt. It's a nice tutor target for Fae. Pay 4 mana, get the Crypt, X out their yard. Then we have other options like Scavenging Grounds. It's also a 0 spell. We have cheap spells to get with Fae, like Cage, Poison, Lantern, Needle, and Protection. These are really good if on turn with 5 lands, you could pay 4, get it, play it immediately. Then we have Change the Equation for a little bit of counter magic. Negate to help protect our stuff and also counter non-creature spells. We have a Damping Sphere we could tutor for to help against Lotus Field. A Jace for a win con. Treasure Cruise as a solid way to draw extra cards. 2 Mystical Disputes we could bring in against control, blue-based strategies. Then we have a Trespass, I'm assuming is just mainly here to hopefully give us 2 combats with a Rattleworm or a Green Blade and just kind of close the game out, which, also could be a sweet way to winning the game. What deck was your favorite? I actually, just to keep letting you know, I did take this list and I put it in my Mox field, and I'm going to be I put it on the poll this week. I just want to try this deck out. I get it, I didn't brew this list, but it's still sweet and I want to be able to play it. So expect some of these decks that I have talked about on competitive list to show up on my Wednesdays list slot, just because I want to be able to try them, see what's going on with them, and actually do all that kind of fun stuff. The other possibilities, I could record this for locals or Patreon if you're interested. I do need to start uploading some more videos there. But until next time, hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day. Like I said, let me know down in the comment section which of these decks is your favorite, and I'll talk to you soon.